Hi, everybody. Alan Knight here with another edition of Night Talk. And for those of you that don't know what this little show is all about, the focus on every week, I'm pretty well going to have another guest, and we're going to talk about relationships from the inside out. The theme of these sessions and these interviews are going to be with people that have incredible life stories. They are amazing people, and they help a lot of people because in many cases they're experts in their field. But really my goal in bringing them on as a guest is to explore their story so that we can learn from their story, not just what they can teach us, but who they are. So I'm really excited about having someone named Esmee St. James from California. I'm not even going to try to explain to you what she does. She'll do that at the end. So without further ado, welcome to the Night Talk Show, Esmee.
Thank you so much, Alan, and thank you for having me on the show. It's a great honor. You're just such an amazing person, and I love the way that you interview people. Where do you want me to start?
What do you like about it? You don't even know how I do it. How do you know?
I know because we had that brief phone call you mentioned before.
Yeah.
I found myself revealing so much about myself to someone that I had never met before. And it's the way that you ask questions and the questions that you ask that make a person feel like you're really interested and like you really care. I love that about you. And plus your voice is so soothing. You're someone that is easy to talk to. And we talked for quite a while, and I realized that I've been talking about myself, and I didn't know that much about you. And that is the sign of a good interviewer, to make the person that you're, to make your person you're interviewing feel like they're the most important person in the world.
You know, it's me. First of all, thank you so much. I mean, this is not about me, this is about you, but I appreciate your feedback and your compliments. And as I was listening to you, I thought, you know what? You just helped me to get clearer on how I want these I call them a show, I guess I'll call it a Night Talk show, to go. There's so many people teaching and training, and I'm a coach and I'm a trainer and you're a coach and you're a trainer. And sometimes we can get very caught up in trying to preach to people about how to do this and how to do that. I think sometimes demonstrating to people is much more powerful. And I realized that I want to use these opportunities to interview people to demonstrate how we communicate with each other. That's what it's all about. So that's what we're doing here, communicating and listening and responding. And so before we get into sort of the guts of your story, because you have a very fascinating story, why don't you first tell us, where do you live? You're in California, right?
Yes, I'm in Truckee, California. I moved here a few months ago, just before this whole pandemic thing started. I was living in the Bay Area in California, and decided to move up here, even though I'm originally from Canada. And I said to myself, I'm done with the snow. but here I am, and I'm so glad I did, because it's marvelous up here.
Well, being a Canuck myself, I'm coming down to visit you. I'll tell you that. In the winter. You have an extra room?
We got a guest room. Yes, I do, actually. And an extra set of snowshoes, and you're going to love it.
I'm coming.
It's so fun.
So where is this? How far from the Bay Area is it?
It's about a 4-hour drive, and it's just on the north side of Lake Tahoe, maybe 15, 20 minutes from the actual north shore of Lake Tahoe. It's on the Truckee River. It's a small little town. Most people haven't really heard of it. It's a really nice place. People are really down to earth here.
You know, it's funny because I have a dear friend of mine, Stefan, lives in Mount Shasta, Lake Shastina, California. And I was saying to him, with the COVID situation, I said to him, you're in one of the most fortunate places. With all the violence that's happening, who knows what's going to happen in the big city. So I'm keeping my eyes out, where I'm going to go. So tell me, what motivated you to move from the Bay Area to this town?
Love.
You found the love of the man
yes.
of your dreams, the man or woman of your dreams.
Man.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. I had been coming up here every year for about 5 years or so to go paddleboarding and swimming and hiking, because the nature is magnificent here. The mountains are, I believe they're on a crystal base. It's very powerful energy here, which I love. And one year I went, I was with somebody before, but then I wasn't. I called a girlfriend of mine who has a place in Tahoe, and she said, "Yeah, come on up for your birthday," because I'm born in August in the summer, and I didn't know anything about the winter here.
Right.
And she said, "We'll meet some of my friends." And little did I know that she was trying to set me up with some of her friends, and she was successful.
Wow, that's fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah,
So this is the
yeah.
beginning of a new phase of your life. It's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dig a little bit into your background. I know that you help a lot of people, you help a lot of women. I know that you have a book, I believe it's called Chick Magnet, which by itself sounds fascinating. So why don't we talk a little bit about your background and how your background shaped who you are today and some of the things that you had to go through, which not only is inspiring for us to know, but also might resonate with a lot of people that will come to listen to this show. So why don't you talk a bit about your background?
Absolutely. When I was in my 20s, I started off as a fashion model, professional fashion model, moved into portrait photography and also hair and makeup. That was in Toronto, and then I moved to the Bay Area, so San Francisco Bay Area, and I let go of all of that I was doing before. I decided I would do something different. I decided to start helping men become better at relating with women because I was seeing a lot of that in the Bay Area. It's a very high tech area. And in order to be in the high tech business, you have to be very focused. And it's a certain mindset where you just, I'm sure you understand what I mean, like the engineer type of person. It's different from what is in Toronto. It wasn't as artistic and worldly and all that I was used to. I started to help these guys because they were really, really good in their hearts, but they didn't know how to have a conversation with the women. A lot of them were introverted or just for some reason didn't have a clue. I started coaching them with wardrobe first because the wardrobe style that most of these guys had was flip-flops and torn jeans, or they just looked like they dressed like they didn't really care what the woman would think of them. And it wasn't that they didn't care, they just didn't know. It hadn't occurred to them because that was
Mm-hmm.
just the dress code there. I was working with that. Then I started doing coaching for them because I thought you can get them dressed. You can take a horse to water, but they were getting compliments, but they still weren't having successful dates or conversations with women. They were still on their own. They just looked really good. I did that for a while. And then I realized somehow I wasn't feeling satisfied. I felt I wasn't getting far enough. Then I went through a really rough time. I had a really, really bad split up.
What do you, sorry, what do you mean that you weren't going far enough? What's that mean?
Excuse me. I felt I wasn't going deep enough with the healing that I wanted to create within these men. It what was happening was I was giving them instructions and having them do exercises and homework in order to train them to be better at approaching people, to be more confident, to feel more open, to be able to carry on with women. But all that was going into their critical mind. You see, our mind, 10% of it is our critical mind, where all our self-critical thoughts and all the processes happen. But 90% of our mind is the unconscious mind, and that's the mind that we don't normally tap into so much. And that part of the mind is where all the limiting beliefs are formed, all the things that you learned when you were a little kid that affect how you behave now as an adult. And the reason I'm saying that is because I learned all about that when I went through a really rough breakup. And I had some regular talk therapy, and that wasn't working for me. Then I heard about a girlfriend who had taken hypnotherapy. She had had
Just
hypnotherapy done
before,
on her.
sorry to interrupt you, before you get into the hypnotherapy, when you realized that you weren't going deep enough with the men, was it more about the fact that men by nature were more resistant to going deeper, therefore you felt that men may not be your target audience? Or was it more to do with where you were at the time that prevented you from going deeper with the men?
I would say neither. Not it's definitely not the latter. I was not going deep into their unconscious mind with making the transformations that they wanted. I was providing talk therapy for them basically and giving them instructions on how to do what they needed to do, but I wasn't able to address that way the fear that they had,
Right. So
the
you just, for
underlying.
whatever reason, you were not able to go deeper, which would have been a lot more fulfilling. You sensed that, and then you had to go through some more changes yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You put the nail on the hammer on the nail. That's
This
the
is
thing.
this is what's called active listening. See, I was listening, but then at some point, just so that for people that try to understand the communication skill aspect of it, I let you talk and I was interested in what you had to say. But then at some point, I needed clarification. So rather than let you go and go and go and then go into my own head and miss out on connecting more deeply with you, I decided to get clarification, which I did. And now we can move on.
That's exactly right. Active listening. It's when you repeat back to the person what they said and how you translate it,
Right.
just to double check to make sure that, hey, I'm paying attention and I
Right.
understand what you say, and then they have the opportunity to correct you. So that's what you just did, and I appreciate that.
Wonderful. So then you were talking about the next phase had to do more with hypnosis, I believe, right?
That's right. My friend had gotten hypnosis, and I saw a change in her that was incredible. One that I've never seen happen with anybody who's had talk therapy. And I thought it was time for me to try this out. So I hired the hypnotherapist, and I noticed how much easier it was to make the changes I wanted to make within myself. Because when you have just talk therapy, like I said, most of it stays in the top part of your brain. You get the facts. Like you can read a book about something that you want to do, for instance, and yet when you try to do it, you haven't really done it. It's just like you're trying to go through the steps, but it hasn't sunk in. So when I did the therapy for myself, it sank in, and I understood that there's such deeper level that's less painful to use.
So
Because when you just
what you're saying is through the new method that you began to learn, you actually got it out of the intellectual understanding and more into true transformation, in real transformation.
That's exactly right. So I got out of the linear thinking part of my brain, which is always trying to make sense out of everything,
Mhm.
and went into my unconscious, which doesn't necessarily need to make sense. It just needs to, certain things need to be addressed in my unconscious mind, or needed to be addressed in my unconscious mind, that were getting in my way of feeling good about myself, of letting go of what I was holding on to that was hurting my heart, so that I can open up and fall in love again and forgive that person and improve myself in other ways.
So in a way, what you're saying, is very common, I see it all the time, it was very much part of my life, is that sometimes we hide out in our head. And even when it comes to self-development, many of us like to believe that we're highly spiritual or very evolved personally, but sometimes it's very, very intellectual understanding. But in order to really get a felt experience of the transition, we need to heal and to grow and to feel and be the person, not just think that's the kind of person I need to become, but that's the way I want to be and live it. And when you live it, people can feel it.
Yep, exactly. And so what this process of, and I ended up taking hypnotherapy classes, et cetera. And so I've been doing that for over a year now. Um, what that does is it takes the barrier away between your linear thinking intellectual mind and the part of you that actually makes it happen, the feeling part. So you don't have to just think it. Of course, you have to always think it, but yes, it allows you to be that much more easily. And it starts to happen slowly. You start to go, hey, wait a minute, I am doing this for myself. Hey, wait a minute, I do feel more confident. Hey, wait a minute, that conversation with that woman was so much easier than it used to be. Huh, I guess this stuff works. That's how it is.
What were some of those things that you experienced that connected to your past that maybe traumatic or somewhat traumatic, and you had to feel them and then go beyond them? Talk a bit more about what those feelings actually were and how you actually made the transition.
Absolutely. So when I was a little girl, my parents both went through the Second World War as little kids. My mom in Paris and my dad in Holland. And for sure they had PTSD because bombs were blowing up around them. Germans were invading their homes. My dad lost his brother and sister. They were in the resistance, etc. And he was just a little boy. So all of that stuff really, really affected them on a level where it changed their behavior because they were very young. They were still at a very impressionable age. So they had this pain that they carried with them all their lives. And when you have that and you talk about it and you feel it, you can't just think, oh, I'm just going to forget about that. You don't. And it affects your behavior for your life. When you have children, that behavior kind of feeds onto your children. It was almost as if you can never be truly happy. There is always going to be a lot of strife, like right in your home. You have to, you know, think just things that are restrictive, really restrictive. There were fears, there was paranoia. And my dad, there was some paranoia about, oh my God, somebody's always out to get me. And so he got this behavior of always, you know, acting like something was always wrong when he was talking to someone on the phone, like a service person. He would always assume that they were trying to get him, or they were trying to trick him, and he would be just not nice to them. And I understand now that that was his response to the PTSD that he suffered when he was a little boy, thinking everybody's out to get him. But when he was a kid, it was the Germans are out to get you. That carried through into my behavior in some way. It's as if I was carrying his pain and my mom's pain with me all the time, and it was keeping me from being truly happy, keeping me from being the person I want to be, and keeping me from feeling confident enough that I can really help others with my work. So it had a lot to do with self-esteem and feeling of in the past of not feeling deserving, of not feeling worthy, because it's all going to end badly anyway. So that was kind of the mindset that I grew up with. When I had the hypnosis, I realized, oh my God, I am recreating this pattern in my own way, my own mind, by being with the wrong person, or never, you know, or not pulling a project through that I knew could help people, because I would think, oh, I'm not worthy, or they don't want to hear what I have to say. Well, trust me, what I have to say is worthy, and people do need to hear what I have to say. Now I'm getting the word out. So that process of having hypnotherapy done on me switched that. It was like I appreciated my parents. I remember one hypnosis session that was like, I appreciated my parents for what they had done for me and everything, but I was going to honor them by living my life the way that I want to.
Fantastic. Now, from the point that you started to embrace the feelings and the process of going through the hypnotherapy, how long a period of time was it to get in touch with the feelings and actually to break through to the point where you knew you're empowered enough now to go for what you really want in life? How long did that process take?
It happened pretty quickly. I had the hypnosis over a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months. I ordered a big package of 12 sessions. So it took me maybe a few months. Sometimes the effects are a little more latent. They don't happen right away because your unconscious is processing as you go. It keeps processing everything. And stuff is still happening now. So it is a bit of a snowball effect, because one thing might change and then other things happen because of that. And then there's that domino effect, if you will, that one thing changes another, and the more I go, the better I am.
But you were on a roll and you knew nothing is going to hold you back from really soaring at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Fantastic. Now,
absolutely.
I want to tell people that are watching this, and I apologize. As you know, you and I had some technical difficulties before we got on. So normally we would have had about an hour, and we don't have that much time. And I have another session to do. But what we'll have to do is do a follow-up one with you so that we really go into more depth with the hypnotherapy, because I'm sure people will be very fascinated. So why don't we just uh, give people a chance to, how do people get in touch with you if they want to know more about your service, how you can help them, the website, anything else? How would people get in touch with you?
So I can be found at esmeestjames.com. That's ESMEE, St. James, ST, and then
James?
james.com.
Yeah,
Yeah, esmeestjames.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram under Esmee St. James. That would be the best way to reach me, or my email is esme@esme St. James. And I'm happy to have a quick call with whomever is interested to explain more about my path and what I do now and how I can help them anytime.
fantastic. So before you go, one last thing, piece of advice for people that are watching. One thing you want to say very briefly. What's your message for the day?
Believe in yourself and just keep going.
That's a big one. Believe and act on it. Do it. Not just think about it, but actually do it. So I want to thank you
Yes.
so much for, unfortunately, it should have been a lot longer. We'll do another one for sure. If anyone would like to get in touch with me, as you know, my Mindset for Success program is about building relationships from the inside out. I've created a 9-step formula that actually speeds up the process of what you're talking about, Esmee, so that people can learn to communicate with high degree of confidence, clarity, and impact. And as you said, it all starts from the inside. So if you'd like a complimentary assessment and evaluation, you can get in touch with me at alanknight.com, and we'll make sure we get your website at the bottom of the video as well. Thank you so much for being with me, and we'll do it real soon.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much, Alan. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Esmee.